as soon as I started to release content that had that more authenticity to it,
Yeah.
that had the not caring about pleasing and caring about what I actually felt, I started to attract amazing people into my life.
What do you do when you've made it by society standards and you've made the big money, but you still feel empty inside? And what do you do when the same programs and behaviors that got you that money and that success are the same things that you now can't turn off and are impacting your health, your relationships, and making you feel unfulfilled? And how do you take off the masks that society has convinced you that you need to wear and to show up in a certain way, and instead become the actual authentic version of you and do the thing that you were born to do in the world? Today's guest on the podcast, Mr. Gavin Dantez, is someone who has definitely been through this process and come out to tell the tale on the other side. He is a marketer, an entrepreneur, an investor who took his first e-comm business from $0 to $3 million in its first year. And he was featured in Forbes and Inc. magazine, who coined him as a mad scientist of digital marketing and branding. I first met Gavin at an event 2 years ago, and I quickly recognized him as someone who does not give a fuck, basically. He says what he wants, and he openly calls out the powers that be online, particularly the last 2 years, with a lot of his Matrix-themed content. He is someone who will train hard in the boxing gym and then go do the splits and then go teach people how to break out of the Matrix and make a ton of money online. But the thing I respect most about Gavin is his ability to take these abstract concepts and models of the world and the society which we live in and bring them down to earth, and in a way that even the layman can understand these vast kind of concepts and complexities of human psychology. And for me, this is such a crucial thing and trait to have in today's day and age, a time when a great veil has really been pulled over the eyes of many. And Gavin's work around recognizing and exiting the matrix is more vital now than ever for our future. And this is something we definitely, dive into big time in this podcast. We also explore what I call the successful entrepreneur's dilemma in this episode, which is where, Gav talks about his journey of breaking out of that Western 9-to-5 matrix, working in the high rise with the suit on and going off and making all the money, only to still feel deeply unfulfilled inside, and his journey of going in search of deeper meaning and purpose in the world. And we explore that shift of pursuing these kind of materialistic goals that society tells you need, like the Lambo and the Rolex, and instead of doing that, like investing that time, energy, and even money into doing what really truly makes you happy and what you were brought to this earth to do. So this is a really inspirational, mind-opening episode, and I'm really, really excited for you to hear it. So let's dive on in. Mr. Dantez, a very warm welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, man.
You're very welcome.
We just saw your show last week.
Yeah, we did.
Amazing.
Thank you. What was your favorite lesson from it?
That's a really good one. I don't know if I had a favorite lesson, but I had many favorite moments. I thought Guru Das was absolutely hilarious. The archetypes of the characters were just so on point. It was so relatable, so hilarious. But also, of course, there was many great lessons. But I don't have one lesson. It's something that, it's the holistic approach, all different layers. It all came together.
Yeah. Maybe bring a spare pair of underwear when you go to see the musical.
I peed my pants. So just to make sure that everybody understands this, I told you that you had to apologize to me after that.
Yes. So how's your morning? What were you working on?
Today?
Yeah.
I immediately started to put some pen to paper on a couple projects that I'm working on right now.
Cool.
But I also had some amazing calls with some amazing brothers. As you know, I have a Brotherhood, amazing men doing great things in the world. So I had some calls with some great people, but I also put pen to paper on some new educational products that we're making.
Cool. So there's two very distinct windows into your world there. There's like educational pieces and products and creation, as well as this Brotherhood piece.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit quickly, just like 1 minute, about like what's the Brotherhood?
So if I were to like give you a brief synopsis of this, we're living in a very interesting time in the world right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know the cycle. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times.
Yes.
And a lot of people who are really paying attention to the history and the cycles are seeing that a lot of the Western world is at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
So we're in the weak men create hard times part of the cycle.
Sure.
because of that, a lot of men are feeling this internal struggle of they're being kind of almost controlled by the matrix, by society, and they're wanting to break out of that. And there's a primal need in the masculine to conquer, to do things with their life, to have a level of individuality and a level of brotherhood. And when I say the word conquer, that doesn't mean to hurt somebody. It means to have some sort of mission and a purpose that's beyond just the mundane matrix, do what everybody else is doing, be the same as everyone else, step in line. And because of that, we've created the Brotherhood to create a worldwide network of men who are on the path of purpose and to help each other, to educate themselves, to just evolve themselves to the next level, to the man 2.0 version.
Yeah, love that. That was a really great synopsis, although it was about 90 seconds, so we'll have to shorten that for the next one. So you mentioned the matrix there, and I'd love to hear a bit about, and also for the people at home, like your journey of exiting the matrix, of like growing up and, you know, the internal feeling of like, wow, there's got to be more, this isn't serving me, seeing all the all the shit in the world basically, and in your world, and then the desire to exit that and move to the next level. So tell me a bit about that.
There's so many layers to that question. And this is the beautiful part about it, because when you're first seeing the matrix, you're at a certain stage, and then you get to another, and you keep peeling back layer after layer after layer. When I look back at it, I remember being in school and just daydreaming, you know, and I was just sitting there all the time envisioning something different than just being in this box. It was a prison to me.
Sure.
And to some people, school was great. It was a place to be there and learn and repeat the things back, and
socialize,
they were great.
And
they were great at it. For me, I was the black sheep. I never fit in that environment. So I was always daydreaming about playing sports and doing the things that I wanted to do, you know? And I was a more creative type of person and more individual. So I didn't buy into that, just repeat back what you're being told all day.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of the journey. But I always remember saying to myself, there's something wrong here. I didn't know what it was, but there's something not right. Like, why are we all just following this blindly? And then I remember being in French class one day, and everyone was saying everyone was counting up to 100 in French, but they got to 60 and they all skipped to 70. So I kept going, 60, 61, 62.
Yeah.
And I was watching everybody else kind of look at the popular kids in class and all look at each other and just skip ahead because they were too scared to stand out.
Yeah.
You know, so they were all just in lockstep. And there was something about that moment that I always remembered, like, wow, people just follow as long as it's what all the cool people are doing, or as long as what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And that was a huge moment for me. Now, there were so many things that happened throughout my life, but when we're talking about the matrix, Neo in the matrix represented the neocortex.
Yes.
Trinity, like the heart, and Morpheus was the truth or knowledge.
Yes.
And when those things come together, you can have some sort of consciousness, you know? You can connect the right and left hemisphere. You can have the logical and the creative. You can have the heart aligned with the mind. And when somebody's heart, gut, and mind is aligned on some sort of purpose, they are in alignment or attunement.
Yes.
So I always felt out of tune with society. So I didn't feel like I'm not playing the right notes here. I just have to go to school, get a job. Yeah.
So it sounds a bit like this, maybe. It sounds a bit like...
It sounds like this. My unique frequency did not match in this societal programming. So I was doing job after job, you know, painting houses, making pizza, this, that, and the other. I remember having this feeling like, man, if I don't go to university, I'm just never going to be successful, because that was what was programmed in. You know? So all of these things, but it was always off. It didn't make sense. Like, how could I do that? How could I do that? And then I remember running into Brian Swan's Perfect Day video, and this was 10 years ago. And in this video, there was this man, he was just traveling the world with his family, and they had lost everything in 2008. But he had done this exercise where he wrote out, like, what would his perfect average day in the life look like? And it was like a Neo meets Morpheus moment at the time, which I'm sure a lot of your clients feel when they meet you.
Sure.
And it just shattered all of my beliefs of how the world worked, because it was like, wait, you can just design your life how you want it. Mm-hmm. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, what would that perfect average day in the life look like? Where would I wake up in the world? Who would I wake up beside? What would I be eating? Who are the people I would surround myself with? What would what would my purpose be? What would my contribution be? What would I be doing for my passions? And you start to put that all together on a paper, and it's like when you search Google and you only type in like one word, you get very broad results. If you get very specific, you get a more specific result. So our mind is like Google, our heart is like Google for our goals if we get very specific and we attune ourselves to that. And to me, that was such an amazing moment, because I wrote out till 6 a.m. that perfect day. And 5 years later, that was my life. I was on the beach in Bali looking over, surfing in the morning. Like, it was like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And now Brian, Rhonda, and Hanale are some of my best friends, which is even crazier. And actually, that's how I met you.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to think how things can change when you start to see more of like the codes of the matrix. So when Neo wakes up in the end and he sees the codes, it's basically he has X-ray vision. So when we're looking at reality for what we think it is, we're just seeing the surface of it.
Yeah.
And Morpheus says we're born into bondage, into a prison we can't smell or taste or touch, a prison for our mind. That means we're born into a reality that we accept blindly.
Yes.
So we accept the education system the way it is. We accept our culture the way it is. We accept it all.
Yes.
And because of that acceptance, we can't break free from it because we're just inside it. We can't see beyond it. But if you have that X-ray vision to see the codes behind, you start to see the natural laws. You start to see the principles. You start to understand it from beyond just what you are projected at. And you have a great song called Projection. You know?
Yeah. Save it for later.
It's a projected reality.
Yeah.
And then we unconsciously follow it like a battery to the system.
Yes.
And I did that till I was 25 years old, until I finally got access to some of this knowledge. Now I'm 36 years old. My life couldn't be more different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating, like that idea of like we've got these 5 senses and we make meaning of the world through them. So if things are presented in a certain way through those, then as you said, unless we, find ways to open our mind and our perspective and see outside the box, or through the box as it would be, then we will continue to live on that basis, accepting that truth as the only reality. As the only reality. And not even thinking of it like there could be alternate realities. It just is. Yeah. And when you're in the it just is, you can't create from inside. And there's an exercise that I learned that blew my mind the first time I learned it. And we can actually just do this exercise really quick, because I think it gives people such a beautiful experience beyond a lot of the programming. So if we were to all just say the word limitless, let's say, and we were to say it, but just in our minds, so 3, 2, 1. And then we were to ask ourselves, okay, I just said the word limitless, but no sound vibration left my mouth. I just heard myself say the word limitless, but no sound vibration hit my ears. This starts to give a different perspective on what sound or hearing actually is. If I were to close my eyes and I were to see my future, I have to ask myself, what eyes are seeing my future? Yes. These eyes are not seeing that future. So then we start to go beyond this surface level. Yes. We start to go deeper. If we can go deeper into that understanding of that vision of what I want my life to look like, and realize I can create that from the inside out, instead of being projected from the outside in and then living that unconsciously, I then have power over my own life. And it goes deeper and deeper, the layers to that. But how do I speak to myself internally? Am I speaking to myself based off of all of the things I've heard in the news that have programmed me to believe a certain thing and act like a robot? Yeah. Right? So I'm just hearing myself speak about the things that I've already just heard from other people that I've accepted unconsciously. Am I taking these imaginations that everyone else is putting into my head about what my future is going to be? My parents told me, oh, you're going to do this when you grow up. Yeah. Oh, you're never going to be enough. Oh, but, and all these limitations. Is that what I'm imagining in my brain? Yeah. Or am I generating this on my own? Yeah.
so I can create what I want.
So that it spills out of the mind.
Yeah, and through you.
Yeah.
You're a vessel, you know?
Yeah.
You can be a vessel for that thing that is inside you, that unique frequency. Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think energy, frequency, vibration.
Yes.
And that's a hard thing to understand. What does that mean, you know?
Again, it's layered, you know?
It's very layered. But imagine, like, we listen to our radio and we attune it to certain frequencies.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's like basically magic, but we take it for granted.
Yeah.
But we don't go to like the country music station and then we're wondering why we don't have hip hop, you know?
Yeah.
We just attune it to the right station.
Yeah.
But our life, we somehow just keep getting the things that we don't want,
Yeah.
living in unfulfillment or whatever it is, and then we just accept it. But we're like, why don't I just tune myself? But that's an inner tuning.
Yes.
I have to tune into what that is that's beyond, or else I'm just going to accept and keep going down the path that I've been programmed to go down.
Yes. It's like we've been told to, like, the radio and life are separate in the sense that, you know, the radio is what it is and you can tune into whatever you want. But with life, you can't tune into whatever you want. You have to accept what's reality, basically, or what we've decided you need to tune into.
It's like you're just given, just like in politics, choose right or left, but you think you have freedom, but you just have alternative choice.
The illusion of choice.
The illusion of choice. So in your life, if you just think the illusion is what you've been told is the illusion, because all the people around you believe that, then it's very difficult. But when you start to spend your time around people who have these types of conversations, it opens you up to new understanding. And hopefully that understanding is not just more things they programmed you with, but they're sparking something internally and mentally and in your heart that like removes the veils. You're like, whew, I was blind and now I can see. Because it should never be the goal of telling someone what to do that's at a higher level. The goal should be to free the mind. And like Morpheus said, he's like, we never free a mind after it reaches a certain age because the mind has trouble letting go. I believe anybody can free, but yes, the more those neural pathways get stronger and stronger, the harder it is to break them. It gets deeper and deeper.
We've cross-wired familiarity with survival.
Totally.
So to break that is like, I'm going to perish.
When you're challenging someone's beliefs, metaphorically speaking, it's like you're coming at them with a knife. Like this is, I'm going to die. So that gets stronger and stronger as someone ages. However, it's still possible to break it free, because if the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of change, then we change. You know? So sometimes, things like in the Brotherhood, sometimes you have to make things more painful so that the person actually wants to change, and that's okay. Because that's another thing that's a hard thing to understand, is that the short-term pain is hard sometimes for us to induce on somebody when it comes down to breaking mental models. But we believe in that person's potential for the long term and the happiness and fulfillment they're going to get when they're able to shatter whatever that current reality is to move to the higher level. And like, to me, that's ethical. To me, it's unethical to let the person just be kind and say, it's okay, everything's going to be fine right here and now, when I know your potential is greater.
It's pleasing, not actually serving.
It's that's it.
You mentioned this idea of like returning the power, and you mentioned earlier like this idea of the guru character in the musical. And for the basically long story short of that is that most people go from a traditional system of like living in, as you would say, the matrix, and then they break out. And the reason why the guru culture is so popular and can be so challenging to break out of is because it's utilizing the same structures that the matrix and the system is using, and the feeling of like, I can give my power away to this person and they will heal me or absolve me or bring me to enlightenment or whatever it is. And ultimately, I believe any coach or mentor or person of influence should not be trying to say that they have the answers, but reminding the people that they have all the power and all the answers inside.
I love it. Like, this is one of the worst things that I see in the industry is the guru complex or the God complex, where the guru wants you to be dependent on them. And the more dependent you are on them, the more high that they feel, because they're getting their ego boost constantly. And that means that's a cycle that has to continue forever, which means they also have to, and this is the nasty part, they also have to put in challenges and do things to their clients or to the people around them that actually make them more insecure.
Yeah.
To keep them getting the high off of their teachings.
Yeah.
And to me, this is super unethical. And it's the unhealed traumas within them.
Sure.
Projecting onto their clients.
Yes.
And when you see somebody really like yourself and coaches who are actually doing what they love, and they're so fulfilled by what they're already doing, and then that fulfillment and abundance is spilling over, there's no need for scarcity. And like, I need to keep them like, it's like, no, you're so free that you want to pass that on. And people get to watch that through you versus the ones where you can really feel that they are holding on to something. There's a level of trauma and scarcity. Maybe it's from abandonment or from being lonely or whatever. So all of these traumas are trying to hold them on, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where they keep themselves in that cycle and then keep their clients in that cycle. And it's just, it's really harsh reality sometimes.
Yeah, and they're attracting dependent people and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned ego there, and I really want to like come back to your story and your journey of like moving from being in the matrix and then having this taste of freedom. And how much ego was involved in that first level, in that first stage?
A lot.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Huge.
So tell me about your transition from like normal life to having success.
Yes.
That first success.
Yeah, so when I found the Perfect Day video, this is when I started to go down this path of saying, okay, I'm going to create that life somehow or another. There's something definitely in me that I know has been there since day one, whether it was sports or whatever, which is like, I can't quit. You know, I can quit short term. We can all quit short term.
Yeah.
But I can't quit long term. Like if I have something that I want, I just need to fulfill it. But that causes so many issues. So when I was going through my journey to get to the first big success, which took about 5 years or about 4 years, I failed so many times. You know, had the eviction from my apartment, had the girlfriend leave, had this, had that. And it was no one else's fault but myself.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the money or it wasn't the thing. It was the avoidance. Avoidance of looking stupid. Avoidance of failing. Avoiding looking like a failure. Telling the people around me what my vision was and them seeing it not happen and doing I told you so.
Yeah.
You know? And them saying you should go to school, you should have a plan B. All of these things that I just didn't feel right. But that now I was in the box of them being able to look at me that way. So I started to hide. I started to pull back. I started to not want to be seen because I was like, I can't be seen unless I'm successful.
Yeah.
And this is such a trap.
Yeah.
Because that was actually just telling myself that maybe I didn't actually believe that I was going to do it. Because if I knew where I was now, I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
So it was so hard at the time to handle it. So by the time I had my first big e-comm success, I didn't go and rub it in people's faces like you guys were all wrong, but I really kind of lived that way, you know? Like I made it, you know? And I wanted to post all the surface level of how great it was. You know? So then it was basically through just my Instagram stories and through this, through that, look at how great life is.
Yeah.
So that everybody could like see, you know? And this was at such an unconscious level of why it was being done that way. It wasn't, oh, I'm really consciously like posting this and giving the right messages and whatever. It was really lifestyle oriented. Just like, here is my level of status and survival now, you know? Like, or thriving.
In the pack.
And it's hilarious looking back at like how internally I was like just seeking validation.
Sure.
You know? All of the 25 years of being programmed in the matrix and then waking up from it and seeing this video and reading all the personal development books and this and that. It's like, here's my validation. I made it, you know? But then still feeling like a deep level hole in the gut of like, this is still not it. Like, I'm still not actually doing my thing. I'm still not actually doing what I truly want. I have the money now. I'm living in a great place. But I'm still wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And needing validation through the surface.
Yeah. It's almost like you bought into the dream that everyone else was peddling. And then you got there and you're like, fuck.
that I bought into the 4-hour work week.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually believe that that's like the thing. And I believe that lying on the beach is the thing. And I believe that all of this marketing stuff is what I wanted. But that was another matrix projected into me. You know, it's just another layer of matrix.
Okay.
It was another reality that was projected by all these people selling me their marketing courses. And I bought all the courses.
Sure.
I was the biggest sucker of all. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with courses. It's just that I bought everything based off of the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Based off of the marketing message and the way that they sold the easy way, you know?
Yeah.
And this is where the unfulfillment comes.
Yes.
Because you think you're going for that surface level.
Yeah.
But you think it's deeper.
Yeah.
And it's not your fault. Because there's amazing marketing messages and psychological oh man.
That's why they're so successful.
That's why they're so successful. So yeah, when I was going through this, I just kept feeling there's something off. So how it worked with my e-comm is I had done so many different like little businesses, affiliate marketing, all sorts of different things. And then finally I was watching YouTube and I saw these guys doing e-commerce. I'm like, man, I could totally do this. I was like, a lot of these guys just started. It was the perfect timing. So my skills were matching the timing of the market.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can totally do this. And I took that first e-comm business from 0 to 100,000 customers in the first year. So a lot of money started to come in out of nowhere. And not money like I'd ever seen before.
Yeah.
I had no idea how to handle that type of money. I just knew that I wanted to just do a bunch of stuff and move to Bali and do this and do that and show everybody that I made it. But not thinking that, just doing that, like, you know? And then I got to the point where I was just like, yeah, this ain't it. That's when I moved into like the real content game, which was the breaking free of the matrix content game. And it's really funny to think about it because at the time I was doing breaking free from the matrix content in that next level of matrix. And I actually believe we're always in some level.
Yes.
You know, another stage of not understanding the next level.
Yeah.
My friend Sean says, like, we're all a fool that just becomes a greater fool. You know, it's like you're just a little bit smarter of a fool. Or like Socrates or any of these guys, they say, the only thing I know is I know nothing. You know, so the more you get, the more you realize how little you know.
Yes.
But in that, in this process of going through all that, I started to really just ask myself, like, what can I actually provide that's at a deeper level than this surface layer of here's how you like live the 4-hour work week life, or here's how you escape the matrix but get into another matrix.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started to release content that had that more authenticity to it, that had the not caring about pleasing and caring about what I actually felt, I started to attract amazing people into my life. And this some of my best friends in the world now came because I started to actually just do the thing without fear. Without fear of what people were going to think about me. And a lot of people will say, like, but what about this? What about that? What about that person? And I'm like, if you're worried about what all these other people are thinking, who you think are your friends, and they're not going to be your friends because you post this or you do that or you go off on your hero's journey, that's not necessarily your friend, you know? Like, that means you've projected to them a version of yourself that you need to be in order for them to be happy with you. And if they're not happy with you, of you being not the one you actually believe you are, then you're kind of in the wrong path here. And this was huge wake-up moments for me.
Yeah, it's like, I'll pretend who you want me to be if you pretend who I want you to be.
Oh, this is life. This is the matrix. Everyone wearing masks in order to please everybody else wearing masks. You see it.
All these unwritten agreements.
Deep level. Deep level, unconscious, unwritten agreements that you have to stand up to in order to get the validation for being this mask wearer that you already are. So there's a difference between like the core identity and the surface identity. The surface identity, let's say, is like Bob the banker who's banking and he goes out at night with his friends and people ask him what he does and he's like, I'm a banker, I'm Bob, you know? But all day when he's at his job, he's imagining a version of himself that's greater that has nothing to do with what he's doing. He's just stuck in this career. He's stuck in his matrix. And he acts and behaves most of the time like who he doesn't actually want to be. And that gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and it could go for his whole life. And then there's the person who understands that core identity and slowly starts to break free in whatever way. And maybe they break free to the next level, which is the next level, and they get a business that makes money, but they broke free from just being an employee.
Yeah.
And then they get into that and they realize over time, okay, well, this isn't a product or a service that I want to be in. And then they move into maybe another level. But either way, they're always trying to find a deeper level of what's that core version of myself that I can actually be, that the people around me, they can understand or they can see me for who I actually am.
Yes.
That's the most beautiful feeling. When you are around people and they see you for who you want to be recognized as, past that, and it's real, and it's a real connection, and then you can see them, and you can give them permission to be who they want to be, and now you have this like real connection. That's not based off of two people wearing masks trying to please each other. Instead, it's based off of we both have permission to be whoever we want to be. Oof. This is such a beautiful experience.
Yeah. That's level 2.
Yes.
You know? Or of course there's many levels, but if we talk meta, like 0 is like we're in the game, level 1 is like we're, you know, breaking out, or so it seems, and we're achieving success. But now level 2 is actually becoming who we really are, peeling back those masks.
Yeah, this is huge. Because for me, when I'm doing the things that I know I'm meant to do, and there's many layers, from fitness to passions. I have many passions. I feel like I have multiple purposes, you know? It's not just one thing. When I'm doing those things, it bleeds into every other area of my life. You know? So, for example, Brian talks to me about this all the time. He's like, when I surf all the time, because that's his thing, he makes more money in his business, you know? It's the same with me. When I'm doing the things that light me up, it's increasing my confidence. It's increasing my flow. It's increasing my awareness. It's increasing my excitement and zest for life. And then it bleeds into every other area. But not only that, it magnetizes the right people around me. These are laws of nature. You know, like
for me, I created the podcast and created the musical and was put so much time and energy into those and had like 3 times my biggest ever month that month. You know what I mean? It's just like, can't fight the facts, you know? The figures are just like, when you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, it is creating that magnetism, you know, that's then spilling into every area of your life. And most people haven't cracked into this because it feels like a waste of time to the logical brain to go and to do that thing. Because like, well, I'm busy. Like I'm already stuck in my business. I need to hit this figure. I need to reach the next level. I'll do it when, you know, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years comes around.
There it is. When we look into the future 10 years, a lot of times we see ourselves like kind of like the same age, you know? But in 10 years, I'm going to be 10 years older. And if I decide to then start doing those things then, it's going to be way harder. And all the regrets and traumas will have built up even more, and the rigidness in the mind. And it's like, you have to start being it now. So I'm always asking myself, how do I pull that future version of myself that I imagine, who has created the life, who is acting and behaving in alignment with who I truly want to be, that higher self, and then try to bring that version into the present.
Into reality,
Into reality, right now. And then moment by moment, try to get closer and closer to living in alignment with that. So imagine there's a line, and you have this purpose or the goal to be X person, or the character you want to become. And at first, you go way off this line. All this crazy stuff happens. Okay, came back. Okay, I feel it again. Way off again. And then eventually, you start getting closer and closer to like a smaller oscillation on that line. You know, and then it's no longer these like massive like 2-year stints of having too much ego, so I can't admit that I was wrong. You know, and it's like it gets closer and closer, and your heart, gut, mind start to align, attune to that same frequency. Let's go. Let's see what it's like.
All of a sudden, it's just like you're in tune again.
You're in tune again, and it's so. I love the continuity between music, between everything in life, and seeing the metaphors and bringing it into yourself. Somehow we compartmentalize life, and we think everything is different.
Yeah.
But it's all the same principles.
Yeah.
You know, so above, so below, micro, macro.
Yeah.
We're all governed by the same universal principles and laws. So why would we not start attuning our frequency to those things? Doesn't it make sense that if I'm at a higher level of confidence and feeling better, that I'm going to attract better things in my life? And that doesn't mean I'm going to sit there, I'm just going to be feeling good in meditation and out of nowhere the supercar that I want is in my garage or something, right?
Sure.
But it does mean that if I'm acting and behaving in alignment with that future vision who I see, do they slouch in the chair? You know?
Yeah.
Are they just lazy all day? What is it that they were doing and what was their character acting and behaving as in alignment with to become that?
Yeah.
And then how can I do that now? And then now.
Yeah.
And then now. Over and over all day long.
And then you're creating that internal story. That inner voice, that inner vision.
That inner vision, it's coming through you.
Yeah.
This is the beauty. And I don't believe it's possible to ever have every single one of your thoughts being original or something like that. I'm not one of these people that thinks that you're beyond what's around us. Like we are being programmed from all angles.
Yeah.
Like we're taking in data from all angles. I learned from Wyatt Woodsmall once, and it was so powerful. Wyatt was one of the guys like Tony Robbins learned from with NLP.
Yeah.
And he says there's a hierarchy of information. So you start with data. Data is the ones and zeros, the just is of reality. Information is something that informs you of a certain goal. So a little manual or something, right? It informs you of what to do with some data to get a certain goal. Then you have knowledge. This is a body of information. This is when you start to organize information into a body of knowledge. Then you have understanding. And this is something that's it's an understand. It's standing up and holding up that knowledge.
Foundational, yeah.
It's foundational. It's experiential. It's something that can't be, at this point now you actually understand it. You can hold up your argument.
Yeah.
And then you have things like wisdom.
Yeah.
And wisdom is when you have multi-perspective understanding. So you can see from all angles. You can see through the eyes of others. You can see through different scientific perspectives. You can see through maybe an artistic, from all the different angles so you can get close to the center of truth. And then the wisdom is the action and behaviors that you take based off of that, which prove that you are wise.
Yes.
So a wise man won't do the same dumb thing over and over again because they have the wisdom. If you don't have the wisdom, you just take action through trial and error.
Yeah.
And trial and error is also important in life. You need to put your finger on the stove to get burnt sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and know you don't want to do it again. But when you start having that wisdom in your life, like we're talking about with starting to understand yourself and your core self, would the wise man keep doing the thing that's out of alignment? Would they? I don't think so. So if I know and I can see into the future of who I want to be and I can pull them into the present and I'm going to take the actions of a person that's completely opposite of that, that's going to get a totally different life in the future, is that a wise action?
There's just came to me and I think it's really funny, so I'll share it. There's an Irish rugby player who gave a quote in a press conference once. Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. And wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is, again, metaphor for life.
Yeah.
Like, are you putting yourself in a fruit salad if you're not a fruit?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you are, but you're not, you know? Totally.
But yeah.
It's the discernment.
It's the discernment. And there's a difference between discernment logically. So the logic of life is just the data, let's say. So it's just, here's the mathematical equation.
Yeah.
The joy of life is the art.
Yeah.
The left and the right hemisphere need to be balanced.
Yeah.
In politics, right and left-wing politics, and all sorts of different ways to separate people and divide and conquer, it's all about keeping people in one or the other.
Yeah.
Keep one side super hyper logical, scientific, keep the other side very like artistic, floaty, anything can be anything.
Yes.
And if you have both people in these, they just fight each other.
Yeah.
And then they control each other.
Yeah.
You do that with yourself if you're imbalanced. And I see this all the time in the spiritual community, so floaty, and they're missing the logic.
Yeah.
Then I see in the scientific community, entrepreneurs, so logical, get this, get that, get them more money.
Yeah.
And they're just like totally out of tune
Robot. Yeah.
and out of touch. And then you meet the rare ones, which are the ones who have like really found out more of their purpose and their mission in life, and have learned to understand both sides, and are willing to change. They're willing to learn. They're open-minded, but they're also not naive. You know, they're willing to be very discerning, but they're also willing to see that there could be something they don't know. You know, and you're always asking these questions, but also putting it through filters. So you're not just accepting it blindly. You know, this is it's an art of life, but it's a science.
It is.
You know?
So. It's like in that quest for success at the next level, like if we've gone just down the ones and zeros route, the logical and then in a very mechanical way of achieving success, then in order to reach that next level, we almost need to open to this other world that we previously shunned and accept back, this whole other world.
This is it. And this is the beauty of life. It's revealing these new layers of what's possible. You know Maslow's hierarchy, right? Safety and survival, and then love and connection, and then self-esteem, and then self-actualization, and then at the end of his life he had transcendence, which goes beyond the self. And it's like, how do I give myself to the world before I go, you know? How do I give of myself or leave something here that is more than just my selfish gain? And then there was also Claire Graves, and they had this beautiful values model. And it's like, when we're born a baby and we're just looking for survival. We just want the booby, you know? Like, it's a feed me. And then we grow up and then we realize, oh, we're a family unit here. We're together. And then you get into your teenage years, and this is when we start to rebel and we want individualism again, and we want to be our own. And this is why you see children at this time just like doing crazy stuff and finding new friends and going and dressing crazy. And then we go back into society in level 4, and this is when we want to become more collective and integrate into the matrix. And then some people then want to break out of the matrix. A lot of the entrepreneurs, we're like, I don't want to be in this matrix anymore. I want just rebelling again. I want to create my own money. I want to be my own self. And then we move back into, wow, no, the world is, we need to help the world. Like, you know, but the problem is in a lot of these layers, people can't see that they're just at a stage. So level 4 is fighting level 5. Oh, those entrepreneurs are selfish assholes. Like, I just want to make more profit. And those guys are like, oh, those sheep in the matrix, you know? And then some people will skip level 5 and go to level 6 and be holistic and be the hippie, but they never learned how to build an ecosystem and a business and understand how hard that truly is. So they can have more impact with that thought that they have and changing the world. So there's all these different layers. And then you go to level 7 and level 8, and these are when you start to actually see that everyone's at a different stage, and you start to be more accepting of those stages, and you start to bring all of the integration of all of the things together, where now you can build a business that changes the world. Now you can build an ecosystem of people. Now you can build networks of people, you know, and global networks, and see how different things will affect different things. Like, business is ecology. You know, if you just look at a forest and you see how it flows and it works together in balance and harmony, this is the same level that we can get with our life, same level that we can get with the people around us, same level we can get with our business, same level we can get by helping other businesses or starting to invest into, you call it nonprofits or charities, or things that can be sustainable. So it's like teach a man to fish. You can feed him for a lifetime. Or how about teach a man how to teach a man how to fish? How can you keep expanding that out?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, there's many layers to it, but it's beautiful when you can get to the place of being able to see that and be accepting of people at where they are, but try to help them level up. The faster you help someone level up beyond the next level, the faster they can ascend. You know, but you have to be accepting that the next level they get to may not be the exact level that they want, but the ones who are in that level 5, where it's like really success for self, build this business, get the money, get the materialism, there really becomes this new layer that's like eating at their gut. Like, am I really being myself? Am I really at my core? Am I really doing what I need to be doing in the world that will help all those around me? Whether it's through just their feeling of being around that person because of what they're doing, or just the fact that that unique frequency is coming up. And it's giving everyone else around them permission to do that as well. And there's just a level of being seen for who you are that is so beautiful. And I wish everyone to experience that. I love like with Jim Carrey when he said, I hope everybody gets famous so they realize it's not the answer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then he really started to be more of himself.
Yeah.
You know? And he is such an inspiration to me because of how free he is as a person in many ways. And it's almost like he was always there, but it was still a lot of the time just people pleasing through the comedy, you know, at one level, because he just wanted people to smile and be happy. But this layer of understanding, you get to that fame and you're like, hey, there's another layer.
Yeah.
Like, what do I really want?
Yeah. There's, you know, in my experience of people going from that stage 5, because if we've reached stage 5, we've achieved probably a lot of success. We're no longer like worrying a lot maybe about money, or maybe there's business issues, but there's new issues that tend to arise. And one of the biggest things is like there's usually not a massive pain like there is like when you're struggling or you're stuck in the matrix. Like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna top myself, you know. Yeah. Whereas when we reach that level, I'd imagine it's quite a difficult place for most people to be in, because they've made it in many degrees, you know. So why would they want anything else, you know? And there's a very like lofty place to be in, because not many people reach that place. So there's not many people who can probably relate to that same feeling of like, there's got to be more.
Yeah.
So what would you say? Well, what was your experience of, because you had the success with the e-comm, as you were saying, and when this new level started to come online, and there was like that gap appearing again between where you were and what you were doing, and this like actually doing your real thing and being your true self, how big was the regret, or the fear of regret in that, as the thing that actually propelled you into doing your thing and stepping into your higher version or fullest version, that stage 6?
I actually have this very strong. When I know that I'm not doing the wise thing based off of knowing who I want to become, it's very pressing. Like, I can feel it day in, day out, hour by hour almost, you know? And there's, of course, some days you just have to go and just experience whatever, do whatever, you know? But I'm bringing it from that perspective of, I know it deep in my gut, and it's such an anxious feeling of like, man, am I going to like if I keep doing this, I will be on my deathbed with regret. You know? And I can feel that like in the future pain. And that pain drives me to do the thing that I actually should be doing with my life. And whatever that is, whatever that calling is, everyone has it. Yeah. And a lot of us live in denial because it's much easier to just suppress it and keep looking to everyone else like everything is all good. But internally, you know it's not. Internally, you know you can be more of what you actually want to be in life. And based off of that, if you don't start taking those actions, it is like living in a prison. Yeah. Because you're just having to wear the mask longer and longer. Yeah. And you build the walls stronger. And that's to everybody. That's to your spouse, it's to your family, it's to the people around you. It's how you show up, whether it's on social media or someone doing a podcast. And I can see through it now. Like I can see when someone's on a podcast and they're just talking about their achievements, but it's empty. Yeah. To the one who's on fire. Yeah. I have people around me like yourself and good friends of mine. They are just on fire about life. It's beautiful. Like, and they're logical and they're rational people and they're scientific, but they also live the art of their life. And that to me it's a way different type of conversation when I'm looking and their eyes are just sparkling. This is one of my favorite moments in the world, when I'm speaking with someone and you see their eyes light up. Like, oh, you feel the emotions of positivity, like the right emotions coursing through their body. This is one of the most beautiful things. But there are people who live like that all the time. Yes. And that's hard. If I went back to my home city, it's super hard to find this. So I feel blessed to be in Bali because a lot of people were the black sheep that achieved that. But even here, I'll speak to people sometimes and be like, man, I haven't met people like you and your friends. You know, so it is still even rare in some places. Sure. That people who are, again, have the right and left brain balance and they're studying the scientific and logical principles and how to build the business, but they've learned how to really step into their thing. Yeah. Step into who they are. And there's a totally different being there. Yes. It's no longer a shell. It's a core living through them and you can feel it.
And it's bringing in that like well-rounded balance in life. It's not just having, like, if we look at, like, imagine a video game character, like you're choosing a Tekken character, one of these fighter characters, and they've got one statistic which is on like 100, like business is on 100, but everything else is like fucking 5. They're not giving any energy or time to these other areas of their life. And the well-rounded person is that person, I believe, that when you look in their eyes, they have it, like everything's firing, but it's not from a place of efforting and doing. It's because they're just allowing life to move through them. And as a result, the balance happens and that flow happens in every area of life because they're doing it. You know what I mean? They're actually living it.
Yeah. And there is like saying that, it sounds like it just happened naturally. Like there was no, struggle or, it's like, but we both know.
Yeah.
It looks effortless now.
Yeah.
But the effort to put the structure in place, the effort of battling the demons, of worrying about what people think about them, of sucking at first,
That's a good one.
This is a huge one because that's what I had a hard time with. I was a good athlete. I had a couple things that when I did, I was very good because I'd been practicing for so long. So to step into new things that I wasn't good at, especially in front of people, was super hard for me because I wanted to look like I was good. But everything you start at the beginning, you suck at.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. Now I have so much respect for people who are willing to suck at something to get good. Like I look at that as high status, meaning I've switched my brain to see like, man, that is amazing. Someone's willing to step in it, get uncomfortable, do things that to other people and the people around them are going to think is a little bit crazy, and they're willing to go through it. Like, wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Like you're starting to get it.
Yeah.
It's the same with all of us. Even now, let's say I go and try to do something new. I'm still going to have that feeling. We're all going to have that feeling of anxiety to do the thing. We're all going to have that. But will we do it anyways? Feel the fear and do it anyways.
Overcome the flinch, yeah.
Overcome the flinch. When you go into the boxing gym, because this is one of my passions, the first time you're in there, you're closing your eyes and flinching when a punch is getting thrown at you. And then over time, you get comfortable enough and you're just moving and flowing with it. This is how it works with every area of life.
Yeah.
All of those fear responses come up. First time I was speaking on stage, horrified with fear.
Yeah.
Today, I go speak on stage, horrified with fear.
Yeah.
It's a different type of emotion, even though the feeling is the same. Before, it was the feeling of, oh, this is going to be the worst thing ever. Now it's, wow, this is going to be the best thing ever.
Yes.
It just switched the way of understanding what it was, because the Tiger Woods said it too. He's like, the moment I step up to the tee and I am not nervous, that's the day I quit.
Yeah.
Because you don't care. The nerves, the fear of doing your thing is actually the dial
the
or
juice. That's the good stuff.
And the way to know you're on the right path.
Yes.
If you're not nervous to do something, let's say especially like in your thing, because we care way more about the response of someone when it's the thing that we care the most about.
Yes.
Because we want them to see us at our highest level in that thing.
Yeah.
Which is such a good way to look. Is this the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? Because you look at yourself and you're like, damn, like I must care so much about this. And that's why I'm so nervous.
Because I'm fucking terrified.
Because I'm terrified of looking stupid in what I love.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
If I look stupid in the thing I really want to do, I must really be a failure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But we're all going to suck at first. And then you get through it. And then over time, people look at your journey and your progress. And I highly suggest when people start whatever it is they're doing, whether it's creating content or you keep those initial videos and you just watch your progress.
Yeah.
Progress is so beautiful, man. Everything in life is practice.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's great at anything, whether it was Michael Jordan who got cut from his high school basketball team or whatever, but he just practiced and he practiced and he practiced.
I had this, there was a client I worked with earlier in the year, and we had this experience of overcoming these boundaries and from having had success in the business to stepping into doing the thing, which was performing and singing. And recently we were chatting and she was just saying about how she was, really facing challenge in terms of the next level of this and really owning this. I'm like, we do live in a very outcome oriented society where if we're going to sing, we believe we need to be fucking Celine Dion or Freddie Mercury. You know what I mean? What if the journey of you doing your thing is not to become the best in the world, but to go through the process of, you know, overcoming these self-worth issues, of decoupling yourself and your identity from your achievement, and actually the lessons that you learn on the way to, you know, doing your thing and living that life of fulfillment, it actually becomes your gift, not the becoming the best singer in the world, but becoming the best communicator of living your purpose and truth in the world.
Yeah. What's your unique frequency? Stop comparing yourself. I'm never going to be Tony Robbins, but I don't want to be Tony Robbins. Like, that's not my thing. I respect Tony. I love what he does. I have so many speakers that I love, whether it's, you know, Gary Vee or any of these guys. I'm like highly respecting of these people because they've really found their thing. Yeah. That's what I respect. Yes. But I'm not trying to find their thing. Like, I talk about the Matrix. I talk about all this like weird stuff. I go down all sorts of different paths. I like to be highly scientific and know the whole laws of the universe while also being willing and able to go into the complete unknown and be so open-minded with things that could like completely blow my own mind and maybe shatter all of my beliefs. Yeah. I want to play in that, like where I'm like almost terrified to find out the next thing, you know? Yeah. And I love playing there. Yeah. That's me. Yeah. That's not anybody else. Someone else might have it a little bit the same, different, but I'm trying to just find deeper and deeper what that is and just be that. Yeah. With like reckless abandon, you know? Mm-hmm. Like I remember too, Wyatt Woodsmall, another thing he said, he's like, you need to become systematically outrageous. And I love this line because I was so stuck in having my identity projected back at me from what other people thought I was that I had to keep projecting it back to them. So it was this like prison that I kept myself in. Yeah. That every time I would step out of it a little bit when I was younger, oh, what's going on? You're being a little weird today, you know? But eventually you do enough of those things and you start to become so weird, you know, in their eyes that systematically I just became kind of outrageous with all my actions that just became who I was to them. Yeah. So now how they project onto me is, oh, that guy just does whatever he wants. Yeah. So now I'm free.
I could never do that. Yeah.
Because now I'm free. What are they going to say? Oh, he's doing something weird? No, he always does weird stuff. Yeah. So how do you hold me? Yes. I can do whatever I want. And they understand that I'm always going to do something else. And this came with like extreme sports. One day I will be doing some crazy thing and then another day doing content and then another day doing e-comm business, another day it's like, this person's doing all these different things. Yeah. But eventually that put me into a place where, or doing the spiritual stuff or going and doing ceremonies, you know, it's like just showing that I just do whatever I want. I'm open-minded, but I'm also grounded. Yeah. I'm grounded in some sort of like more like scientific truth, like a foundation that has principles. Yes. So I'm not just floating around aimlessly. Yeah. But I'm testing things. Mm-hmm. And I'm totally okay with how you think about it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm totally okay if you think, oh, you're being a weird hippie. Cool. You know? Mm-hmm. Totally okay if they're saying, oh, that thing you're doing is weird. Cool. No worries. I'm just out here testing stuff. Yeah. Reality is about testing. It's about playing. Yeah. You know? Okay.
It's funny because like people are like from that experience, I'm imagining people are going to put you in a box anyway. Yes. So you can choose which box. One box is the one that's exactly like them, and anything that isn't like them, they then get annoyed about. Or you're not buying this brand, or you're not doing this thing. Or they put you on the other end of the spectrum, which is like totally out there. And then they also don't question it because now they've just assumed that that's just who you are. And ironically, most people the same ones that probably told you back in the day, oh, like you're doing something weird, are the ones that look at you now and go, fuck, I wish I could do that. I could never do that, you know?
Happens a lot. The same people who said, when I said, hey, I'm going to like build a multi-million-dollar business and travel the world, who said I'm crazy are asking me how they can do it. Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah. But this is one thing that I do want to go over because I don't want to come across in a way that makes it seem like you can just be actually crazy. And when I mean the word crazy, I mean completely float around and think things will just randomly happen for you. Yeah. I spent a lot of time understanding principles. Yes. So understanding that gravity works whether I want it to or not doesn't require belief. I don't need to believe that I'm going to fall off the cliff. It just happens. There are certain physical things and physics in general that we can look at and say, that works this way. There's certain ways that with the guitar, you have to, there's certain tunes, there's certain frequencies. You can't just like fight these laws. But at the same time, so that's on one side.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't just only know these laws in such a cold, sterile way.
Yeah.
Because then there's no life behind it.
Yeah.
And that's the balance that because of that, people used to say, I thought you were kind of going down a little crazy route, but you still always seemed very grounded, you know?
Yeah.
So I do want to bring that across because that's something that helped me tremendously, was having principles that are guiding my behavior versus floating around aimlessly with this open mind that just got sucked any which way without anything holding like any pillars up.
It's almost like if I was to describe that musically, it's like I understand that this goes with this.
Yeah.
But now I can go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can now create my own unique flow once those principles are in place.
Yeah. So I'm big on this, having your guiding principles for life, but understanding some level as much as possible actually of some objective nature of reality. I like to go into like things like the Hermetic principles, you know, like cause and effect, masculine and feminine, the law of correspondence. These things are working within everything, whether we want them to or not.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing to know.
Yeah.
Because that means if I go to McDonald's and I don't exercise, I know what's going to happen. It's predictable.
Yes.
It also means I can predict more of my own fulfillment by knowing there's a cause and effect relationship. If I keep doing things that aren't me, I'm most likely going to get a result that's not me.
Yeah.
So these are predictable. Now, the cool part about life is the principles are predictable, but the people you run into, the experiences are not. And that's the beauty. But am I going to be showing up as my best version to meet those realities? And I love this because it's like, what is real? It's like the moment and who I'm showing up in at the moment. These are two things that you can see.
And you can influence and control.
And you can influence and control that.
Moment to moment, yeah.
But we don't know who's going to be outside that door when we leave this podcast. We don't know what's going to happen. But if I'm showing up as my best version, I can magnetically attract more of the better circumstances into my life.
Yes.
So not can I imagine it and hope it happens. How can I be it? People would say before, fake it till you make it. What about be it until you become it? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Be it until you become it.
Yes.
So if I'm being it, I can become it. If I'm faking it, there's some level that can actually help because you can like fake that you're like confident or whatever, and maybe
modeling,
you become confident, unconfident. But still, why don't you pull that version of who you actually are and be it? And that means if you're not in the financial situation of that person, how would they have acted to get out of it? Would they have pretended that they were something that they're not? Or would they have just known that they're going to become that and go get the help from the people that can help them?
Yes.
And be super open to that level of maybe I'm doing things that are not right.
Yeah.
Maybe someone knows better in this situation. Maybe someone has experienced this before. And humble yourself to that level so you can reach the higher level.
Yes. And the humility is the key there. Because if we're afraid to ask for help, we're stuck in that 2-year cycle of like not doing it.
It just happened to me really bad.
Yeah.
Like deep. Like it was the worst times of my life.
Yeah.
Was going through those layers of denial, of not being able to admit that I failed, of seeing other people look at me like I didn't make it, you know?
Yeah.
And thinking that the world was over. Same with when I had relationships when I'm 18 and we break up and I think I'll never have a girlfriend again, you know?
Yeah.
Like as you're evolving, you lose this scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And you start to realize that I have to show up as that version of myself and what they would do, even if it's super uncomfortable.
Yeah. 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 And it's not clinging to that old version of self, which is now outdated. It's realigning to the higher version and just continuing to live through that every day. This
is why I love what you do, Pete, because when I saw you on stage doing this and through music, and it was like 2 years ago we met through the Swans.
Sure,
and you were playing music. I could feel that,
but
I could still feel there was like, it still wasn't the full version of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we met again, like it was like you were in the Brotherhood, but then like 4 or 5 months ago, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
And there's just a different energy behind you. It wasn't just a shell playing music and I'm cool and whatever. It was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like you are really showing up as you, like your true frequency. And then you started telling me about the clients you're working with and like how they're just doing. And I'm like, it makes so much sense because it's not a logical process. You're like, hey guys, do this, this, and this, and this. It's like they look at you and they're like, yeah, I want to be able to do what Pete does.
Yeah.
Not in your way, in their way.
Yes.
But because you're being it,
it
attracts those people, and now you can actually show them a process. This is another big thing. We don't have influence in our life to influence others if we're not really being who we should be. Like, what kind of influence do you really have? You only have influence to teach them how to do things not to do.
Yes.
Because you're not actually doing the thing. How are you going to teach them to do the thing? But if you are, they're going to look at that and have this immediate like magnetic reaction towards it. Like, I want to have more of that because that's the juice of life.
Yes. And do you know what the big difference is, I believe, between those two stages? And it was something that reflected into music, not directly, but through going my own like personal development journey, was realizing that I was a really good musician. Like technically I'm still the same or maybe a little better, but the way I was approaching it energetically was from a place of trying to please. And I got really fucking good at pleasing a crowd and playing exactly what they wanted to hear. But it was only when I started doing what I actually wanted to do and play the music I wanted to play and bringing in these elements that are important to me, that's when that magnetism starts to come through. And you felt that, you know?
Oh, there's just no doubt. When your guys' show, this is like, it did please the audience.
Sure.
But it pleased the audience through exactly the life experiences you've had.
Yeah.
So even if no one else in the crowd laughed, you would be laughing.
We would be fucking
Think about
laughing,
that.
yes. I was laughing.
Think about the power of self-amusement in life, where you can be having a conversation with someone and completely enjoying whatever it is, even if that person isn't exactly attuned with it, but you can still leave the conversation so happy that you are being authentically yourself. You know, I have to pretend that I'm someone different every situation in order to.
It's like self-fulfillment instead of receiving enjoyment through them enjoying you.
Yes.
It's like
this is
validating
completely different
me.
than I'm playing the music they want to hear so that after they say, hey, great job, but I actually like really didn't want to be playing that music. You know?
Exactly.
And I didn't get that, but they got it. So it's good, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I received the pat on the head. Yeah.
You know, and to do both, this is not easy because the process is going through, what are they going to think about me? The process is going through some uncomfortable moments. It's going through transitioning. There's all sorts of things, like transitioning from this person who just pleases to how do I express?
Yeah.
Expression.
Yeah.
Like express that true inner, like that vision of yourself. Express. And then at first it might be like, oh, that's a little bit weird. And then over time you start to realize like, man, people are like respecting me more. They're when they come up to me, when they're around me, I'm attracting more other people who
authentic
are like
people.
Authentic people who are like, man, I really resonate with that. And you're like, damn, I'm being seen for the juice again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Completely different level.
New experience of life. Powerful.
Yes.
To close us off, in the spirit of being, was it systemically outrageous?
Yeah, systematically
outrageous. What are you cooking up? What's on the horizon for you in the next few years? What are you envisioning?
This is a great question. So we have our brotherhood. Have Limitless Trading Academy.
Yes.
So this is between me and my friend Lorenzo and Oleg.
Yeah.
You can check it out on YouTube. So this is a beautiful project. I see such an amazing opportunity right now as this world is getting a little bit crazier and crazier to truly help men find this masculine power and bring it back. This level of purpose and mission in life. From all angles, the distraction is there. Video games, pornography. You can go to the corner store and buy every shitty food you want. You can buy a credit card and spend money. You know, from every angle, distraction, hacked.
Yeah.
All people who want your attention and then therefore your money for that attention. It's time to take our power back. It's time to stand up. It's time to see reality for what it is. It's time to be an intense realist, not a person living in this matrix fantasy world. And I'm truly ready to build one of the most amazing networks like in the world of men who think this way, but not in a way that's cold, in a way that's going to help humanity in many ways. And people can have all different perspective on what that is, but I truly believe a society of people who are free and conscious, connecting their brain hemispheres, who are happy with their fulfilled life, are
Level
going
6,
to
level
do
7, level 8.
going to do better things in the world.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a beautiful process. So just creating incredible education and bringing together these networks over the next year is going to be very fun. I'm looking forward to having more and more powerful men who believe in that message join us.
And like you said, creating that change, like not being the guru, but allowing them to find that power within them.
Leaders create leaders is something Gerard Adams. Leaders create leaders. And this is something that I absolutely love. I don't want to say, hey, you do this. I want to see that inner come out and them take over.
Yeah.
And then do the same. And do the same. Teach a man how to fish. Teach a man how to teach a man how to fish.
Yeah.
You know? You keep going meta.
Yeah. Gavin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, my brother. Finally got to rock it with you on this.
Yeah, really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Pew! Epic, bro. I think that will be good.
I think it was great.
Yeah.
I think we hit all the core points naturally.
Very naturally, man. This was great. Like, we could go for 3 hours on this, you know? But I think there's going to be some amazing clips from this.
Absolutely.
Cool to know that this thing exists too.
It's great, eh?
So they film it and then they send you the edited version?
I get it in my Dropbox, yeah. The audio, so the audio is running through one of the cameras, and then, 2 cameras, and for an hour and a half, so I can't remember per hour, I think for an hour and a half it was 730.
730.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. They said set it up the same, like you come in the first time, plan it out how you want it, and then every time you come in it's just like this.
Okay, so so they move it around too.
Yeah.
Damn.
I was recording next door as well before, and that was like, it's a little cheaper in the music studio. This wasn't built yet. So.
Bro, this is great.
Hey,
I'm really happy to know this. So because this is what Lighthouse is doing, right?
Sure.
But they're just charging a lot more and more, you know. But this is perfect.
Yeah. A bit close at home. Yeah, handy for just like, even for me, for recording solo episodes, it's like I go in next door, 300k an hour, just bang it out, they clip it all and stuff, so, yeah. Nice one. What was your highlights for you, or the main?
I don't know, it's interesting, it brought out things that I hadn't thought about in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You brought some interesting, and this is why I like doing the podcast, because my brain, when things get triggered, goes into new directions.
Yes. And then that's kind of like, it gets bottled and captured, and then if you listen back to that reinforces it.
Totally.
See it.
Yeah, so, I was just thinking about like things like when I said people used to reach out to me and say like, hey, like, I thought you were a little bit crazy because I went through like more of the hippie phase, dressing like more of the Ubud clothes, and you know? And people were like, I thought you were super blah, 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 but like you seem so grounded.